As the crowd progressed through the city, clashes broke out between protesters and supporters of the president. More than 150 taxis, waving banners backing Chen Shui-bian, drove from different parts of the island toward the president's hometown. Other people wearing Ma Ying-jeou and Xi Ming-tai masks pushed roly-polies of Chen Shui-bian. Their message, Chen will not be toppled. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
In other news, it turned out to be fifth time lucky for the space shuttle Atlantis.
2, 1, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Atlantis.
The space shuttle blasted off from Cape Canaveral in Florida about an hour ago. Its 6 astronauts are on an 11-day mission to resume construction of the International Space Station for the first time since the Columbia disaster in 2003. So far, everything is going according to plan. The launch was delayed 4 times over the past 2 weeks. Fierce fighting is continuing in southern Afghanistan. NATO and Afghan forces say they killed more than 40 suspected Taliban militants in the region today. This brings the reported toll to 320 since NATO troops launched a major offensive against the militants last week. But the body count masks some grim realities. NATO is facing the toughest ground combat mission in its 57-year history, and European countries are very reluctant to provide more troops. James Lagilia reports.
NATO military commanders are saying the fighting in Afghanistan has become fiercer than in Iraq. The most intense combat has occurred with resurgent Taliban forces in the south. About 10,000 mainly British, Canadian, and Dutch troops are leading the mission there and are taking casualties almost daily. The commander of British forces in the south said the fighting is extraordinarily intense. NATO Supreme Commander General James Jones wants up to 2,500 extra troops to take on Taliban militants before winter sets in and they retreat to the mountains. But at this NATO summit in Warsaw, there is no indication yet on which of the 26 member nations will step deeper into a military situation with grim parallels to Iraq. One parallel was evident for all to see yesterday in Kabul. The Afghan capital saw a suicide car bomb attack which struck a U.S. military convoy, killing 2 U.S. soldiers and 14 Afghan civilians. It was the worst suicide attack in Kabul since the Taliban was overthrown, and scenes like this are becoming a more common occurrence. In 2002, there were no suicide attacks in Afghanistan. So far this year, there have been 32. U.S. commanders say the Taliban are copying tactics used by insurgents in Iraq. 5 years after 9/11 attacks were launched from Afghanistan, the war is far from over. James Lagilia, TVB News.